we're still having wintry nonsense going on, so the tree is staying up. Wintertime rebel! Now, what was I doing again?
The wacky world of MultimediaJay.
I have no sleep cycle right now. That's the last thing I gotta get used to for this whole days back to nights thing. I can stay up, but I have a hard time falling asleep, and I'm having a hard time getting up at the right time, and oh, what a mess. I gotta stop endlessly sleeping in, though. Caffeine it is. But we'll save that discussion for another day. Okay, so back to this thing. For those of you who are wondering why I'm being a nerd with this whole water pitcher thing and this total dissolved solids meter from the zero water pitcher, it's because I'm going from days to nights. I'm still in the transition period, and I'm just a mess right now, so I gotta keep it simple. So I'm being a nerd in the simplest way possible by just messing with this water pitcher, which I don't like the design of. It's similar to the Britas that I see and whatnot, where it says, "Oh yeah, take the filter, press it down, and hope it makes a good seal." I wonder if there's a way I can mod that to get water to stop leaking past the filter and throwing off the TDS numbers. Shooby-dooby-dooby-dooby-doo. Check it out. You can see stuff in the tap water. And there goes the phone. I have a sonar ping from my push notification doohickey on the phone. Alright, straight out of the tap today. How are we doing? 172-ish. Roughly the same as last time. Now, the big issue that I have with this design is it's basically push the filter down and hope it makes a good seal. Let's see if we can mod that a bit, even if it means using the pitcher in a somewhat unorthodox manner. Okay, there's the little O-ring that's supposed to seal off the filter from the bottom of the pitcher, and it looks like there's a little running track to run on it. So if we have to bust out the plumber's tape, we'll have to put it over the seal and make it a little bit of a tighter fit. As for... whoops, that's not the top part. As for this, yep, there's what's supposed to do all the work right there. So you basically got to jam it in. There is nothing whatsoever mechanically that is going to hold this thing in place. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually... not backwards. I'm going to see if I can do this without spilling water all over the place at an angle so I can see this stuff dripping past everything. We're only going to put a little bit of water in and see if it makes it past the filter. So let's try and jam the filter in there and see how well it works. Aha! I think I got it. I think that little running track for the rubber was the key point here because it was hard to press this thing into place now. So I hope the rubber is actually making a good seal this time. Let's pour a little bit of water in and see if any of it starts bubbling along the sides of the thing, indicating that it's making it past the filter. That was it! I see droplets on the bottom and I don't see anything on the side. Let's finish filling the top and see what numbers we get. Finally! So that's what was missing. So there is kind of a crude mechanical design to this. However, you just gotta watch where the little O-ring is on the filter. It should be difficult to press into place. If it is, you're doing it right. Otherwise, you're screwing it up like I did last time. Nice! Fully loaded. More droplets. Nothing making it around the seal. Oh man. Okay, this video is now officially going to be a linked video in the previous one. Nice! Now we're gonna give it the benefit of the doubt, just like last time. We're gonna wait for the top piece to finish filtering, then pour some into the second beer mug thingy, and see what the number is for TDS. Nice! So yeah, this is gonna get linked up anyway, so Jay versus the Aldi pitcher, round 2. By the way, for those of you wondering about that shaver that's torn, or that trimmer that's torn apart over there, we'll get to that. I have a few things to fix and a few things to tinker with, and of course, the rubbish experiment whenever I can find that code. But first, I need my head to not feel like scrambled eggs from lack of sleep. Oh, this is cool. You can still see little droplets underneath. It's some kind of, yeah, it's based on how it's filling up or something like that. Well, that's kind of nice. Reminds me of those little ink droplet thingies in oil where you had the ink drops going around, or water drops, or whatever it was, and they put food coloring in the water, and it just da-da-da-da-da-da, something like that. And 90s folks might remember those. That's one of those things we had before all that stuff went to people's smartphones. Darn it, I'm old! For those wondering what the deal was with the cow last time, I kind of tossed him over on the exercise ball, and I don't really have a place for the exercise ball anymore. I was experimenting with using an exercise ball instead of chairs at one point, and since moving here I haven't really found a good use for it because there's less space and whatnot, so it's not like I can easily toss it aside and just use the chair. Unless, of course, I gave up the project area and made both the project area and the main area my living room-ish type space. But I do know now, from the way the electricity is wired in this place, that it was a good idea to hook up the project area where it is and the main area where it is, because the main area is on a different circuit. So if things get overloaded around here, it won't cut my main computer off. How are we looking? Oh, we're almost done. Sweet. We still getting droplets in the bottom, right? The good news, though, the best news here, is that it's bone dry. So it looks like I was just a noob when it comes to these simpler water pitchers. Cool. We'll get the numbers once this thing finishes. I am definitely giving it the benefit of the doubt. Okay, we're just about out of water in the top piece, so the moment of truth time has finally arrived. We used the big beer mug type thing for the stuff coming out of the sink. Just like last time, let's use the little mug for the stuff coming out of the pitcher. Now let's see, now that we actually have this thing working properly, ooh, that looks nice and clear. Looks clearer. Still got some stuff kind of floating to the top, but let's see what it got everything down to. We know we're usually around 175 for total dissolved solids. After going through that basic Brita style filter in the Aldi Crofton, we are now down to 148. Well then, that's the end of my use of these things then. I was hoping I could use it for something, but it looks like these things are only good for chemicals and whatnot, like getting rid of chemical taste, not necessarily dissolved solids. So even when I use this thing right, it still barely brings things down a notch. Or maybe what I said earlier was correct, that the whole dissolved solids thing is a selling point for the zero water. Zero water filters things a lot slower than this thing did. So, obviously, so I think I'm done with this then. As far as pitchers go, I'll just go with the zero even though it's really slow. Plus, I have some plans for the zero that involve getting more out of each filter and not having to spend a lot of money. And how about we try some of this? Still drinkable. Kind of reminds me more of the water I grew up with, which was well water. So yeah, it kind of does take out the chemical taste. So I think that's what that filter's really for. This reminds me of the water I grew up with, which was well water out in the country. So it's very, very similar in terms of how it tastes. So I think that's really the issue here, is that the dissolved solids thing is kind of a marketing thing, maybe for zero water, and that other filters just go after chemicals and other stuff like that too, and take out the city water taste so you don't have it taste like, you know, chlorine water or anything. In areas that actually have that problem, which this area does not. So once again, I may not be the best person to be doing these kinds of comparisons. Nevertheless, here's what I have in mind next for this whole thing. So here's what's next with that whole filtered water experiment, whenever that finally happens, because we're not there yet. As far as the Crofton goes, I'm going to clean it up, dry it out, put it in the cupboard. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. We'll figure that out later. But I've picked up a second zero water pitcher, because the first one's got a couple of years on it. It's getting kind of dinged up, starting to show its age, and the filter's not bringing everything all the way down to zero anymore. So what I'm looking to do is set up a two-stage cascade with two zero water pitchers. Basically, what I'm doing right now is, of course, I'm putting the regular tap water in the zero, and it's going through filters, but what I'm thinking I should do is take that filter that's starting to creep up from zero and have that be stage 1 for this one, so that the water that gets poured into this has like 0 or 1 parts per million, making this filter last a heck of a lot longer, and then we'll just keep using the filters in the first stage pitcher until they're completely shot, and they're not filtering anything at all. Not until, you know, they start going above zero, and see how much longer I get out of filters and stuff like that. Maybe what I should do is buy one last filter for the old one to test it out and just kind of document when everything goes in and when everything's done, and start using the filtered water for the coffee and tea and stuff like that. Things I'd want to have, you know, filtered water for, and see what kind of a difference see how this all pans out. It's something I've heard about with other YouTubers and whatnot, so I figure now, with having used a zero water pitcher for a couple of years and my first one seeming kind of beat up at this point, now is probably the best time to give this thing a try. So yeah, let's wrap this all up, shall we? Actually, who am I kidding? We could always just do things in reverse for one filter cycle until the filter in this thing completely gives out, and then just do things the other way from then on out. I gotta finish letting my head clear from this whole day to night thing. Alright, so I think we all know where we're going from here. Till next time, this is MultimediaJay, signing off. Thanks for stopping by.